currently headed to go see what is my second most anticipated film of 2022. This is The Northman, directed by Robert Eggers. Now, I haven't seen a single trailer for this movie because I don't watch movie trailers. I like to go in blind. But Robert Eggers is one of my favorite directors. This is his third film. I loved his last film, The Lighthouse, and I loved his first film, The Witch, so much that I have it tattooed on my body. There is Mr. Black Phillip himself right here, riding a broomstick. The Witch is one of my favorite movies of all time, like top 5, and The Lighthouse isn't one of my all-time favorite movies, but I fucking love The Lighthouse still, and I cannot wait to see The Northman. I know about it. I know it is a Viking revenge film. Robert Eggers is known for making really weird, strange indie films. Like The Lighthouse and The Witch are very, very low budget, not like a broad audience type of movie, but from what I've seen of The Northman, it looks very much like a larger scale, like action film, crowd pleaser type of movie. I said The Northman was my second most anticipated film of the year. This was only in front of The Batman, which was my number 3, and I really, really, really like The Batman. And this was only behind Jordan Peele's Nope. I am trying to speed right now because I gotta drive like 30 minutes away to the theater, and I feel like I might not make it on time. It's interesting, Alexander Skarsgard is the lead for this movie, and I can't think of a single movie I've ever seen Alexander Skarsgard in. I'm sure I've seen him in a bunch of movies. He just is probably like unmemorable to me. I really want to get my windows tinted so everyone like around me doesn't look in and see me talking to myself like an insane person. I just pulled up to AMC. I will give you my thoughts when I get out of the theater on Robert Eggers' The Northman. Okay, so I've seen The Northman now. This was my second most anticipated movie of the year. It's actually the next morning because I was going into this movie like kind of sick, and I think this movie like just sent me over the edge because by the time I came out, I had a fever. I was driving home like so sick. I just passed out once I got home. So now it's the next morning, so I kind of had a night to process the movie, and I'm going to have an unpopular opinion on this movie. This is my least favorite Robert Eggers movie, and I thought that this movie was very disappointing. Yes, it's a Viking movie. It's very brutal and intense and violent, and if you like all that stuff, it has some awesome Viking action of Vikings brutally pillaging and taking over towns and slaughtering people and slaughtering children and beheading people and just like crazy fucked up shit. It has all that stuff. The cinematography is incredible. A lot of the fantastical elements are very cool. They're actually on real sets. They're like in real, out in the world. They're not on green screen sets, and I appreciate all that. This movie visually looked beautiful. It sounded beautiful. The performances were all great. You remember when I was driving, I was like, I can't remember a single movie I've seen Alexander Skarsgard in, but maybe it's just because he's not memorable. I didn't like the casting of Alexander Skarsgard. In The Witch, Anya Taylor-Joy is the lead, and she was incredible. She became such a big star. Then we had Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse, which was like the perfect two-person dynamic for that movie, and I love those two. Alexander Skarsgård I thought was the most forgettable part of this whole movie. I never got into his character. He was very, very one-note to me, and his character never had any sort of arc. Now, I'm going to get into spoilers in this, but the whole movie, Alexander Skarsgård's character is like one note of angry, hatred, revenge, because he's like, you killed my father, you stole my mother, I'm gonna kill you. So he spends the whole movie chasing down this one guy that he wants to kill for like 30 years or something like that. He wants to kill this one guy, and then he finds out things that alter how he should view the past and makes the audience realize, oh, it's not as if we thought. Maybe the story that led him to want this revenge isn't quite what he thought, and this family that he wants to kill is actually a nice, happy family, or at least they're better than his father was, who was a rapist, and he really wants to avenge his rapist father. But his character is just so full of hatred and so full of rage the entire movie, and so one note. He's so unopen to growing or having any sort of arc or changing his mind on anything that it doesn't change his opinion. He still is just, I gotta kill these people, I'm angry, I'm rageful, I'm hatred. And he never learns. Like, if you remember the Batman, in the Batman that came out, Batman started out calling himself Vengeance. He started out just like rageful and hatred of the people like terrorizing Gotham. By the end of the movie, he realizes the Batman needs to be a symbol of hope, not a symbol of vengeance, and that's how you get people to rally behind you. This guy never had any sort of arc. He spent the entire film being a rageful little angry like whiny brat, And he just, maybe it's his performance or something. I never cared for his character, never got into him. I wanted him to die the whole movie. I was like really hoping the family he wanted to kill would kill him. There's a point towards the end of the movie where he finally decides, okay, maybe I shouldn't be just constantly pursuing revenge and hate my entire life. Maybe I should grow. Maybe I should change. Maybe I should just go off with this girl and, actually try to live life. And I was like, all right, that's not a bad ending to the movie. I actually kind of like that. And that lasts all but about 3 minutes. And then he's like, nope, what am I doing? I'm a one-note, angry, rageful guy that needs to kill and be angry and rageful. So he jumps off this boat and he goes back. And this movie felt like it took 3 hours. It's 2 hours, 16 minutes. It's Robert Eggers' it's his longest film, and it's by far his slowest paced film. I thought the pacing in this movie was kind of awful. Again, the cinematography, the sets, there's so many beautiful things about this movie. The first 20 minutes of this movie, I loved. Everything with like the bears and the wolves and when Ethan Hawke is the king and he gets murdered. I loved all that stuff. But when it becomes solely Alexander Skarsgard's movie about his quest for revenge, I never cared about it. But yeah, this was definitely a disappointing movie. This wasn't one that I'm going to be rewatching much. It's just, especially for Robert Eggers, I feel like Robert Eggers is such a unique filmmaker, and The Witch is just on a whole nother level than any witch movie ever made, and The Lighthouse is just like bonkers insanity, but it's beautiful, and this is like badass Viking movie with shirtless men being badass, covered in blood, beheading kids and being badass, and everything is so badass, and slow motion and epic music 24/7, and epic, intense action and bloody violence and fucked up imagery, and it just became a lot after a while. Like, I'd rather watch 300 or something. Like, I just didn't care for the main character at all, or his story, or how one note he was. He never went through any sort of arc or anything. He was just one note and flat the entire movie. Again, it looked beautiful. It was cool. There was a lot of things I enjoyed in this movie, but for the most part, it just kind of fell flat to me with the story and the main character's journey. So, unfortunately, I didn't really care for the Northman. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I know people are loving this movie. I wanted to. This was my second most anticipated movie of the year, and Robert Eggers is still one of my favorite directors. But, yeah, this was a disappointing movie for me. That's my thoughts on Northman. What'd you think?